Those are the days on the clock, of course, as we count down to Game Plan 2017. And welcome to this part of the show. I'll reintroduce my panel to you. Seated across from me, Moses Kuria, the Gatundu South legislator. Right next to me is Mbala MP, Abdikadir, Aden, and in the middle, Omingo, Magara, the chair for the Center for Multiparty Democracy. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. We are discussing, as I mentioned earlier, negotiated democracy, something that we're seeing a lot more of. Some may argue it is not necessarily new in Kenya. It happens along, communities that have a clan-based system where they sit at the table and elders decide what should take place. We saw perhaps the most extreme version of this being in Mandera, where some 20 elders decided to get rid of an entire crop of leadership and said we're going to have change. I'll start with a general question to all of you. What do you think about negotiated democracy? Is it progressive for a country like ours, or does it take us back? Abdikadir.
My view, Anne, is that negotiated democracy is a very retrogressive approach to democracy. It doesn't work. It can't work. In my view, it is going to put the wrong type of leadership in place against the wish of the people's choice.
Okay, why can't it work? We had a grand coalition government, which perhaps is the loudest example of a negotiated democratic result.
Negotiation between parties, negotiation between players at national level in terms of representation of certain party and another, those are democratically negotiated issues between parties. But here we are talking of 20 elders sitting down and saying, you can't choose so and so, he can't be in the ballot. We are going to offer you so and so and so and so, and those are the people who are going to be your leaders. That's where the difference comes in. So the people who otherwise, according to our constitution, should have the democratic right to choose the person they want to represent them as their leader, are now being denied that choice to choose that particular leader. That is where the difference is.
Negotiated democracy lives beyond back in the ancient days, but I also appreciate the fact that we are evolving, and tenets and democratic principles have actually evolved. But coming closer to the reality is that negotiations are usually better for coalition purposes. And talking about the issue of the Grand Coalition government, it was a political negotiation after the common person had given you their leadership. That was political positioning. Correct. It wasn't negotiated democracy. I think that negotiated democracy sometimes taken too far. It can bring to autocracy and a one-man syndrome. Because there are places where, in a tribe, if Omingo has spoken, the community has spoken at the expense of great leadership who can really give you value. So I think in terms of negotiated democracy, look at the context and where we're coming from and the state at which our involvement of democracy is. For example, you see, during the ancient times we were colonized, we were liberated. Today what we are seeing, people are crossing the Red Sea to self-enslave themselves. So what we are saying is that's also part of democracy. Today, where I sit as a sort of multi-party democracy chairman, I will not hold anybody back who wants to join any political party. It was part of the democracy. But again, are we doing the right thing for this nation or going back? My thinking is negotiate democracy based on principle and ideologies or political opinions that match and agree is good to this country. But we risk going back to a one-man syndrome.
Are we going forward or back, Moses?
I think it's very important to put this issue in perspective. First, even where we have negotiated democracy, nobody is compelled, for example, if the elders of Garissa sit down, for example, and they say Barambara is going to this clan, Honorable Abdikadir Aden is still at liberty, to vie. But what happens is that the comparing force of those decisions, make it, almost impossible to go against it. So it's completely voluntary. And what amazes me? I remember when we were at the IBC committee, and one of our members, the Honorable Mahmoud, Engineer Mahmoud, he's from Mandela. He was trying to be governor of Mandela. So he left the committee, and we gave him time off so that he can go for what we are calling nominations, because they're actually nominations within the elders. And he came back 2 days after, and he told us, gentlemen and ladies, I have not been successful, and I'm extremely happy with it. And the guy is completely at peace with himself. So it's amazing, when we go for election, how people, the passions are evoked and the emotion and all that. But I think it's important that we understand why is negotiated democracy sometimes, necessary. It is to solve the problems that come within heterogeneous, societies and communities, and look at it this way. Even in Mandela, for example, they don't say they want my brother here or Abdikadir. They say it is this clan or that clan. Then that clan now sorts itself out. So it's not completely saying that they are favoring one person or the other. If you look at,
but does it, as he's saying, deny the electorate the very best crop of leaders? But
you see now, it's the electorate, the same electorate which chooses to respect the decisions of those elders. Because if you buy as an independent, for example, in Mandela, chances are you're not going to make it, and in the same electorate. But let's look also at some positive side of this negotiated democracy. In a completely heterogeneous place, for example, in Marsabit County, and we had actually problems, clashes after the general elections of 2013 in Marsabit, where we had the Boranas on one side, then we had the Rediles, Gabra, and the other guys, I can't remember who they are, the Gabu guys, who formed a coalition. And what they are saying now this time is that because they have seen the folly of that kind of competitive, environment within Marsabit County, they are talking about negotiated democracy.
Abdikadir,
but when you have got completely homogeneous, just a minute, my brother, where you have got completely homogeneous, setup, for example, where I come from, then you will not find negotiated democracy being necessary. But where you have got places like Tana River, the Oromas, the Pocomos, and even this time there is talk about negotiated democracy, and we are actually encouraging negotiated democracy within counties like Tana River County.
So what would you make of the scenario where we saw Cecily Mbarire, at odds with Lenny Kivuti the other day over the governor's seat? It's pretty much a homogeneous. It
is not really homogeneous. We have got actually more problems in Embu County than in Garissa County because of the Bere issue and the Embu issue. This is Africa, and negotiated democracy is an adulterated version of democracy adapted to fit African realities.
And let's put it this way. Take the example that you took of the people of Mandera. The elders sat and said, okay, all the leaders who are there are going out. Now, leaders are not made overnight. Somebody with the credentials of like Bill Okero, for example, is not just a Mandera leader. Bill Okero is a national leader. How long will it take the people of Mandera to have or to bring up a person in the caliber of Bill Okero back to the national platform? It is many years. The other thing I want to tell you is that the tendency it has taken now is that...
So they probably need to get started immediately.
Yes. Now what is going to happen is that, look, it is going to take 5 years, and the person who is being brought in knows that I'm only going to be there for 5 years. After that, I'll be removed. Somebody else is going to come in. Now, two things are likely to happen. That person, when in office for 5 years, will certainly not be committed to work for the people. They will be more committed to work for their own personal self-gain for those 5 years, because they know they will exit. And after that, and remember, there are professionals out there who otherwise will have been attracted into coming into politics. But now they know that this is a place, if I go in, I will only be there for 5 years. And for that reason, it is unlikely to attract serious professionals into the political arena. So what is going to happen? The busybodies, the so-called, the so-called political, quacks and whatevers, are now the people who will be coming forward to say, we want that position. So what does that give the people of Mandera or the people of Garissa for that reason? I want to be honest with you. In 2013, there was that kind of an arrangement in Garissa, and I said no. I told my people, no, you cannot have leaders imposed on you. Look at the people who are vying, listen to their mandates and manifestos, look at the ideology that they believe in, that they tell you that this is what plans we have, and choose people on that. And that's how I came in. I am a product of revolt against the so-called negotiated democracy in Alaska.
Move the conversation forward. Do you see this affecting certain political parties more than others? Take, for instance, the Jubilee, which has now moved from coalition status to a single party. Is it likely that we're going to have to see much more negotiated positions there than perhaps Accord?
Allow me to say something before I go there about this kind of negotiated democracy. What happens sometimes, I got some knowledge in one county in northeastern, I think I suspect will be Mandera, where negotiated democracy led to a stalemate in operationalizing the county government for a year. That was courtesy of the same kind of thing. So basically, if you do it mechanically in terms of suppressing people, there will be rebellion. Sometimes you even maybe a running mate who is not your choice, and perhaps they want to pull you down, perhaps, and that compromises the leadership in terms of delivery of services. Going back to your question, negotiations are welcome, and as I said, where I sit as SMD, we do not hold people back from what the choice they make. The unfortunate thing is, if we then have issues of translucent nominations, then the compromises and anarchy and pain could be playing back, and people would even lose potential votes that they would have won. On the other issue here is Jubilee did it, and I think it's a form of negotiation. They are doing it pre. CORD is still begging and creating an environment to bring perhaps pre as well, or post. So these negotiations are all over, and I think you can see people are pulling jokers in terms of edging each other out. The rate of the matter is, we are so polarized as a nation. Even when you're talking about the Pentagon equivalent, it is actually bringing on clans from everywhere to see the people see that somebody, our man is there. Right. But ideally, even this clan is not about the North and Eastern. Where some of us come from, then we're sitting in denial. We clan politics, even where I come from in Kisi, it's major, on that is subtle. The reality of the matter is, it compromises quality leadership, and you find losing a wonderful leader would have taken the country to another level into oblivion when actually it would have been. So it is
Are we going to see then perhaps more independent candidates coming forward? Do you think that's going to be positive?
You can be guaranteed that, because already some people are posturing. I want to sit next to Raila, for example, and that is a sure card. I'm sitting next to the president. Of course, that gives you a sure card. And perception usually carries the day. And you know, sometimes we have seen it all. Those you know the and I pray that this growth of negotiations and having principle great two parties was going to be a major thing, but it collapsed courtesy of not respecting the institutions of political parties, and of course the loyalty to political parties. You reward maybe the highest pocket holder. It happens, and that is completely detrimental to democracy, and that's why we're going to dig deep into.
It's democracy for sale. Are these seats for sale, Moses? You're usually a straight shooter.
Well, I know in Abdikadir's party there's a price tag.
No, that's not.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Oh, my friend.
Absolutely not.
Oh, in our place, it's actually, let's look at now what you're going to do in 2017. And we've said categorically that IEBC is going to administer.
And IEBC has said you're going to have to wait for it to confirm that.
No. In the reform package that we passed and that was part of, they have got no option. Article 88(2) of the Constitution obligates them to manage political party nominations. The Elections Act that we passed the other day that's going to be effective on the 4th of October gives them no chance. It's not a luxury. It's not a nice to have. It's a must have. If a party writes to IEBC and say, let me finish, because I was part of that committee, and that was my pet subject. If IEBC says, if a party writes to IEBC and they say that please IEBC come and manage Jubilee elections, that is it.
IEBC has no choice, even if it doesn't have the funding for it.
The funding is from the exchequer.
Or regulations are not in place.
It will come.
The funding is from the exchequer, and not just for Jubilee. If CORD says we want our nominations to be run by IEBC, Treasury has to provide funds. IEBC will give quotations, for example.
You're saying that guarantees that seats are not for sale?
Yeah, they're not for sale anymore.
The
shop is closed, even in the shop.
You know what is there is, first of all, I want to dispute my good friend Moses' view that ODM seats are for sale. It's very far, nothing is further from the truth. As a matter of fact, it is probably the only party indeed that has delegates nationally. And that even the other day when our good friends called delegates into Kasarani, we were wondering who they were calling. Some of our ODM people were calling us from in there saying, we've been put on a bus and brought to Kasarani. So basically, what I want to say is that ODM is the party. And let me say, no, not at all. Not at all. These are the people who are called, Kenyans were supposed to believe are delegates. But coming back to the subject of the issue of negotiated democracy, we must separate the two. There is negotiation between parties and entities that are already established. That is another level of negotiation. People who have already been given mandate to lead. But now, the context that which the introduction earlier of leaders being imposed on people. And I think that is where the whole thing of negotiated democracy is gotten wrong. I don't know, my good brother Moses is probably a good product of a negotiated democracy himself where he is seated. And probably, you know now, because last time, let me finish. You see, what we know is that he's a beneficiary of a negotiated democracy last time. But let me tell you. But let me tell you one thing. Let me finish.
Because they were lazy.
Let me make my point, my brother. What I want to say is that in his case, and you know, last time it worked for him, but this time who knows? If you continue with the negotiated democratic thing, my good friend, next time you know that you could have been negotiated out. The whole thing is give the people of Gatundu South the choice to choose Moses Kuria. He's a very good leader, in as far as I know, he's my good friend. Let them have the choice to lead. Did the Gatundu South people get the choice to have a good leader? We could have confirmed only if there was an open democratic election. That is a truth. And that is a negative effect of negotiated democracy. Why do you keep the country against me? No,
but you answered it.
You talked about, they talk about fair nomination. It is a wonderful situation that we want to be in terms of IBC doing exactly for all political parties existing. But that which is the best, is it attainable? I doubt it, because what that means, every political party must register the candidates and give them to IEBC for them to proofread that these are legitimate members of the party, and that they are the ones to choose members. What's happening usually will be that people would say universal suffrage. What will happen is, I will organize my people to put a weaker candidate against him to beat him. Then I come back and beat him. It is wonderful to say operationalizing between now and the next election is a far cry. It's not realistic. And my brother is saying whether they like it or not. I think that again now dictatorship what we're talking about. And it's my good brother, I respect him. It's a wish that we wanted to achieve. It's achievable, but not I really doubt.
But the law, according to the law that we have. But let me correct you, Majma, on the law. We've just passed the law the other day, and I know you are in the team that drafted it. The law is clear. It is the wish of the political party to decide first. Yes. If Jubilee or ODM does not so wish IEBC to manage its nomination affairs, they can go their own way. We in ODM, for example, cannot say that we will want IEBC to manage our affairs. I mean, because from a party point of view, let me say that from a party point of view, it's an idea still under discussion. But I can tell you for sure, what is likely to happen if you give that to IEBC to manage for you, the obvious is simply out there. What? We have, first of all, we have our own elections board that has in the past done a number of successful. There's none that can be without
maybe a bit successful. Of a stretch.
No, I'll be honest with you. Successful, but we want to say that, and we want to say it's going to be the choice of the party, and that's where the correction I wanted to make. It is not a must. It is the choice of the party.
Something here that I want you to clarify. You said if IEBC does it, then we know the rest. What is the rest? What will happen?
Let me put it this way. Let me put it clearly. That we have and we will test our ability, the ability of our elections board when the time comes. And as we right now, we are convinced that our elections board is up to the game to be able to handle nominations. No. You see, IEBC is yet to be formed. There's IEBC is in transition now. We have no IEBC in place. If the party decides to go in that direction, we will. If we decide to go in our elections board way, we will. But we have the capabilities of the party.
Okay, fair enough, gentlemen. Do so as we make our winding up comments.
Two things. An ideal situation is IEBC doing it. The unfortunate thing, you want IEBC to select, and that was also our little flow, and we will give our input at CMD. There is no way IEBC will pick for you players whom they are going to oversee the final stage. It's faulty on the first stage. Number two, at the political party level, my brother is saying the body has done a wonderful job. I was in that party where we did a fair nomination, and as I was sitting watching television, I think it was Citizen, I saw a different name of a nominee on the screen. So it is
other than your name?
Not my name, other people who give certificates.
Okay, right.
So people are changing the certificate overnight. So what we are saying here is, our democracy is at initial stage. We need to nurture it and grow because we lost blood and life to get this democracy. It must be guaranteed genocide. And I persuade everybody else. Sometimes when you are in a position where it favors you, you want to fly with it. Sometimes it can be used against you. When you legislate the laws that are favorable to you when you have power and when you don't have power.
But in terms of negotiating democracy, is that a way to protect the democracy which you've just said we fought hard for?
Certainly, the basic thing in terms of party hopping, I will hate that because sometimes people insult the party as soon as they get to power. In terms of controlling party hopping and party discipline, that is the best thing to do for what Jubilee has done. And I can tell you for a fact, I am very warm to the presidency of the Republic, and I wish him well. Was some campaigning for him after I resigned from KICC as a chairman, as I gone for his senatorial position.
Okay, and that's your pitch, right?
You know, I'm at a loss why ODM would refuse IEBC to administer their nominations using state resources. You know, your guess is as good as mine. And can I tell something? Do you know why Ababu Namwamba left ODM? As soon as Ababu Namwamba...
I know why I left.
You had left much earlier. But Ababu Namwamba, as soon as he was made the Secretary General after the Men in Black case at Kasarani, they went and changed who signed the certificate, nomination certificate. They changed from Secretary General to these so-called people of nominations board, who of course, you know, Baba can sit in a corner and call them.
We're going off the rails. Let's talk about the negotiating part.
Okay, good. So, in some cases, for example, in Nairobi, for example, it may be necessary to have some negotiated democracy, for example, as a strategic issue. You see, in Mandela, it will be done purely as a cultural issue, for example, out of respect for elders and that kind of thing. But in Nairobi, parties may come and say, for strategic, imperatives, they look at Sonko and Eugene and Sakaja and whoever for the governorship and say, look, for the purpose of winning these elections, who is the best suited to be governor? Then they come to the issue of senator. I've had some people like Yvonne Kamati and the others who are vying for senator say this is the best person to run for senator. Because you're not in the business of losing elections.
Fair enough.
Now what I want to say is that finally what I want to say is that negotiated democracy, in my view, can never be good for the interests of the people. The Constitution says it is the choice of the people. What my good brother has explained here is for a party to get the convenience to win a seat. Does that really represent the wish of the people? Do you impose a person on the people just because so that the party can be able to win that seat? But let me put it for our sake in people of northeastern Kenya and for Kenyans generally at large. Let me say that Kenyans should not be cheated. Go for the leader who you believe will represent your wish at the national level. That is what is going to serve the interest. And that is why you have a vote which you have personal responsibility over.
I think that's a general rule.
Fair comment. I think we can all appreciate.
Nobody can have problem with that general rule.
All right, Moses.
Every rule has an exception.
Thank you.
Fair nomination.
Thank you for your views. We'll see how it goes. We're taking a break and we're back with the sport after this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.